Hey, before we dive into the video, I just want to kind of break down, this video is going to have a couple parts, so you can feel free to skip ahead if you like, or just watch the whole thing. So the first part, we're just going to go over just real quickly what is done to the car in case you haven't watched the channel before. The second part of the video, I'm going to talk a couple minutes just quickly about things that you need to do, either whether you installed a turbo in your car or you're going to the dyno for the first time. If you're watching this and you're learning from my videos, watch what I'm about to tell you. It'll save you time, money, your tuner time in the long run. And then I'm going to show you a baseline dyno of the car so you can see what it made on the exact same dyno, essentially bone stock. All the car had was a Resonator delete, so you can see how much wheel horsepower it made and torque, bone stock. And then we'll do the dyno, you know, when we start to turn the boost up. So we'll do it on wastegate, we'll go through some tuning, and you'll see how much you can pick up from essentially one modification. I mean, it's a big one, but how much power can you make from adding a twin turbo to your Mach 1? Let's get into the video. This is the Hellion Street Sleeper kit. I'll throw up some pictures of it real quick just to kind of bring you guys up to speed on what you're gonna be seeing in this video on the dyno. Option different turbos. This has the base 62 millimeter turbos, but the big thing is they're mounted up underneath the car. So when you pop the hood on this thing, if you don't know what you're looking at, it doesn't look at all like there's really anything done to it. These Mach 1s have a cold air intake stock, and that portion is removed obviously because this charge pipe here leads to the intercooler. But basically from the road, if you weren't looking on in the front and saw that front mount intercooler, you would have no idea that this had anything done to it. So this is their twin 62 millimeter turbos, the base turbos that come with the kit. I did option the upgraded Hellion 4-into-1 turbo headers. So they are a slightly larger primary and basically tubular turbo headers for this car. The fuel system is relatively mild. It is an Injector Dynamics ID 1050X, and I went with a Deechworks drop-in fuel pump, the DW400. I've run fuel pump boosters on previous cars, and while they work, I just felt a little bit better about, you know, a drop-in pump. This does have the Go Fast Bits or GFB G-Force 3 boost controller. I'm using the Fat House Fab mount, which mounts out inside the car right in front of the shifter. And since I mentioned it, one thing that's a little bit different about this car than other cars you may have seen or other Mustangs, so many of these cars are automatics. Obviously the automatics and boost work fantastic, especially with the 10-speed cars, but this is the Tremec TR3160. So this is not the MT82 because it is the Mach 1. Other than that, this car is stock, stock clutch, stock drive shaft. I mean, everything, half shafts, everything else is stock. So before we get on the dyno, let me just run through a couple things that you're definitely going to want to do. If you've never been to the dyno, this is going to save you money and time, and trust me, your tuner will thank you for it. First of all, you need to have a charged battery. If you've been working on your car, like I had this car apart for a while, it was sitting here, I had to unplug stuff, replug stuff back in, get yourself like a little battery tender, you know, like this guy. I've got the Comet plugged in right now. Make sure your battery is charged, because if you run into issues, it's not charged, you're just gonna slow everything down. You definitely don't want your battery to go dead while you're loading a tune or something like that. That's number one. Number two, first, if you did a turbo kit like this, especially on a Mach 1, you're gonna have to drain the coolant. You're gonna lose some oil in the process of doing the install, and you're also gonna lose quite a bit of transmission fluid. So, when you add coolant to these cars, or really any car, you're gonna have some air trapped in the system. So it's not just like you fill the coolant up and you just walk away. You gotta drive it, you gotta cycle it, and basically your coolant level is gonna drop as air comes out of the system. So make sure this thing is full of coolant. You definitely don't want it to overheat. Same thing with the transmission fluid, and these are a little bit unique because this does have the transcooler, so you probably won't see it, but right here, this is actually a functional air duct that goes straight through, and I'll show you a picture, to the transmission cooler for the TR3160. So when you refill these things, it's not quite as simple as just adding the fluid until the fluid weeps out of the hole and plugging it up. You actually have to start the car, put your foot in on the clutch, and let it idle with your foot in on the clutch for 2 minutes to cycle everything through. Then you pull the fill plug back out and you check and make sure that it's totally full. The other big thing, Motor oil. I noticed with my car, so when you add turbos, you know, you've got the lines, you've got the scavenge pump, you've got the turbos, you're just gonna have a little bit of extra fluid. So make sure you top it off. While we're over here, let's talk about wheels and tires. So, you know, I had to take the wheels off in order to get the splash guard off, in order to get the front bumper off. I think it's 150 foot-pounds. Go around with your torque wrench, torque every single last one. You don't want to be a YouTube star and have one of these, you know, wheels flying off on the dyno. And then last but not least, it never hurts, clean the inside, guys. You know, you got your tuner, he's gonna be sitting there, get all your food wrappers, not that I have any, but go in and clean the inside and make it nice and neat and clean for him or her, because they're gonna be inside your car. So little stuff like that goes a long way, let me tell you. All right, now we're at the point of the video that I'm sure everyone has tuned in to see. How much power does it make? Well, first, let me show you what it made just totally stock. The only thing that was done to it was a CNL Resonator delete. So it just had an H pipe instead of the resonator. Everything else was bone stock. We ran it on the exact same dyno. So check out that video, and then I'll post the numbers so you can see what, you know, a 2021 Mach 1 6-speed manual makes in the dyno. Honestly, at the time, I was very excited about those numbers. I mean, 440 horsepower from a Gen 3 Coyote. I've had a Gen 1 Coyote, right? So like back in the day, I had a 2013 6-speed trackback car, and you know, I had a tune, I had long tube headers, I had full 3-inch exhaust, and it barely made 420. So to make 440 bone stock is a real testament to these newer motors. But now it's time to add the boost. So what we're gonna do is, tuning is being done remotely. So Lund is doing the tuning, and then the boost controller is being set up by my tuner here in Salt Lake City at Premier Performance. So the first hit you're gonna see here, this is just on wastegate, and then we'll talk through a couple issues that we had, and then we'll start turning it up. So for that first run, we were at wastegate pressure, and we were seeing right around 7 pounds of boost. And that, depending, initially we started with just 91 octane. So with just 91 octane on 7 pounds of boost, I think the first pull that we did was like 726 or 745. It made good power on 7 pounds. But when we looked at the NOx sensors, we noticed that, you know what? It actually needed some more octane, even at 7 pounds. And maybe that was just the gas that I had in it. Again, I'm in Salt Lake City, so 91 octane is all we have. So from there we went, I had about 11 and a half gallons of 91 in the tank. We poured all 32 ounces into the tank, which should yield about 100 to 101 octane. And that's where we ran into some issues. So on the next pull, we tried to adjust the boost controller up, but we weren't getting any more boost, which was very odd. And actually, we maybe got half a pound less of boost, 6.5 pounds. So the only part of this install where I had a little bit of help was hooking this up. I was underneath the car, I was blowing in one of these hoses. I had somebody up top and making sure, because the way you hook up to your solenoid matters. And I think it was late in the day. Maybe I wasn't clear about what I was trying to do. Long story short, the hoses got flip-flopped. So my tuner said, hey, let's flip-flop the hoses and let's try it again. And that was after we added some octane to the tank. So we cycled it through. We ran it a couple more times just to make sure that octane booster was totally mixed. And then we started playing with the boost controller and started adding a little bit. Okay, so this last run was awesome. I think we were at about 10 to 11 pounds, somewhere in there. And as you can see, it cracked off over 900 horsepower to the tire, 903 and 666, which is a super devilish amount of torque, right? At that point, we sent a data log to Lund. Lund looked at it, decided they wanted to add a little more fuel up top. We ran it one more time. And holy crap, when I saw that number, I was just like, oh my gosh. So here's the high boost setting. Again, these Coyotes, they like boost, they like timing. So adjusted that tune, everything looked good. I think the computer added a little bit of timing up top maybe, and you can see our best number of the day. I am completely blown away. I mean, 945 horsepower out of a 5 liter at like a 12 pounds of boost is insane. 10 years ago, if you had a 2-valve Mustang and you had 12 PSI boost, you were lucky to make 420 horsepower. Ask me how I know, because I had one. Okay, now granted it was supercharged, it wasn't turbo, but it's just insane how much better engines have gotten. So again, this is a bone stock motor. Okay, it's only got 4,400 miles on it. This is a stock clutch. So we decided to stop there. I was more than happy. We dialed in the boost controller a little bit. So setting 1 is gonna be wastegate around 750 horse. Setting 2, you jump up from 7 to 10 PSI, and that gets you to about 850 horse. And then setting 3, and for setting, somebody's getting on it out there. For settings 2 and 3, for sure, you need either race gas or you need something in the tank to get your octane up to safely run those numbers. But you're on setting 3, like you saw, you're around 940, 945 horsepower. And we did crack off a couple more in the 9s. I think we had a 903 pool, a 906 pool, and that best of 945. So I couldn't be happier with the car, with the numbers. It's time to take this thing racing. So in future videos, trust me, you will see me out there racing this thing. Hopefully I can get a tire for it. I took it out on the street and drove around as best I could. I actually turned the traction control off and was able to do some quick hits on the street. And believe it or not, it does hook up in 3rd gear. 2nd gear is like you're on an ice rink, but when you get into 3rd, it hooks up. So I'll show you a quick clip of that. Like I said, I'm so happy. So thanks again for watching. Thank you to Lund. Thank you to Heath. Thank you to Premier Performance. And thank you to Hellion for all of your help. And I can't wait to put more miles on this thing. It is a beast. See you next time.